Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be doing my last Retribution Paladin update of Battle for Azeroth, basically until the pre-patch of Shadowlands when there's actually changes to be made. And as you could probably guess, this is going to focus around corruption, because the only thing that's really changed is that we now have a corruption vendor. So on my Rep Paladin 8.3 guide, most of those things still ring true now, even at the end of the expansion. The same kind of talent suggestions are going to ring true, and the same corruption in general statements are going to ring true as well. So things like infinite stars, for example, are still really good. However, the fights are getting shorter as everyone's doing more damage, so it's definitely less good, and you would normally be using that in like a raiding environment. Things like Twisted Appendage, they have moved down a little bit, but it is still a pretty good generic corruption to use for single target. Twilight Devastation, still really good AoE corruption. None of those things have changed. But what we were able to find out, not only as the expansion went on and we got more duplicates of corruptions from our chests and from just doing content, but then the corruption vendor came out and then we could literally purchase the things that we wanted. And we learned that stacking certain things is really effective. Since for a lot of classes, stacking Expedient, for example, is really effective. And then for other classes, it's, Mastery or Crit or Verse or whatever. For Paladins, it happens to be Mastery. This is for a specific reason, because Mastery is not necessarily our best stat. In most cases, after you get to a certain point, it doesn't really help that much. So, why is stacking Mastery so good? This is going to be your number one corruption in all situations now. AoE, single target, everything, as long as you have the right traits on your gear. So what you want is Avenger's Might. So like a mythic version would be increase it while Crusade, which is your best talent there, is active. Your mastery is increased by 870. You have 3 of those, and you can see that that's 2610 mastery, something like that. Quick math. So when you have mastery 3, increases the mastery you gain from all sources by 12%. You can see how that adds up to a ridiculous amount. So my base mastery right now, I am actually about to purchase some more mastery 3 right now actually, but my base mastery right now is 53%. When I hit wings, automatically I go up to 118%. Now another thing you can do is you can wear one Honed Mind corruption, which increases your mastery as well. When that's active, it actually goes up to about 150%, 150 something percent, and so that's obviously really good. So when you have a bunch of rank 3 masteries, however, obviously that's going to be even higher, and your damage is pretty ridiculous and actually catches you back up with a lot of other people. I actually found this out pretty early in the expansion because in the patch, because I had such bad luck with my corruptions. I actually got a bunch of mastery corruptions, and I just, as soon as my resistance was high enough, I was just putting them on and trying it out, and it actually worked really, really well, and I got some good parses early on for it. I actually spent all my echoes on Ineffable Truth though the first time it came around, or maybe the second time, but and I'll get into that as well. So the number one thing is mastery is the key right now. Stack mastery on your corruption. That is that's the main purpose of this video. But this only going to work if you have the Avenger's Might things. So you want Azerite gear that specifically targets that. If you don't have those, you can kind of ring true with the old things. Just use it for the situation you need. Twilight Devastation, Hodgepodge, Twisted Appendage, and you can kind of do that. However, if you have the opportunity to play Ineffable Truth, let's say you're not really planning on getting any new gear, you're kind of a casual player, Ineffable Truth is extremely fun to play. It basically, when you stack it, when you put it on all your gear, your wings is basically up all the time, with just like a few 20 seconds on average of downtime ish, and you get to have wings up all the time, and it's actually really, really fun to play that way. So if you're not looking to do the max damage, and it'll be much lower than the full mastery build, but it's actually extremely fun to play that way with having wings up all the time. It feels really good as far as just a feeling of playing. So a couple more things I want to get into regarding this mastery thing. One thing you run into in these videos is people tell you to sim your character all the time, And so I've tried to go away from that. And so I'll say, yes, if you're a high-end player, you should already know this. You have to sim your character. Other than that, I'm just going to be talking in generalized terms. When I simulate my character, it wants me to stay around where my crit is right now and not really lose anymore. So I'm at about 22%. So when I simulate my character, it basically says try not to lose any crit from where you are now. You're still going to use crit gems up until this point. However, after that, you can start adding more mastery. Haste, I'm at 20% on haste. That's probably more than what I need currently, to be completely honest. That's just how my gear kind of works out right now. I don't have a lot of crit mastery gear. That would be your best option to have. And then you want the base, the lowest haste you really want is probably a 13 to 15%. Again, I'm just talking generally here. That would be the lowest you really want to go. But 20% is probably a little bit more than what I need, but it's just the way my gear happens to work out. And so, obviously, then you stack mastery. So, basically, any piece of gear you can have on that has mastery, especially rings. Those are the biggest ones. So, like, I'm wearing this ring specifically because it has mastery on it. I'm about to put mastery 3 on it. Has over 300 mastery. That's the kind of things you want. However, bracers, the bracers that I'm going to be putting my mastery on actually don't even technically need to have mastery on them because it's such a low amount. It's only like 80 mastery on the bracers. So it actually doesn't make as big of a difference if the other stats are both, like, if it's like crit haste, for example, it might be better to wear the crit haste over a very small amount of mastery. But generally speaking, you're stacking it. You're getting most of your mastery from your Azerite pieces. And this is just a way to do a ton of damage, even in this current gear that I have. And I'm about to add 4 more masteries to my gear, rank 3 masteries. In my current gear, my opener, I can get up pretty high damage already. I'm very looking forward to simming my character with the new masteries on and seeing what I can get with that. So that's about it for the video, honestly. I will go into the talents real quick, I suppose. It's mostly the same. All 3 are usable in the first row. Zeal, you again simulate, I guess. Zeal, Righteous Verdict are going to be the main 2 use. Obviously, Execution Sense is always going to be the best for just pure single target. If you're AoEing at all, or half the fight, or half the dungeon, you're just going to want to use Zeal. Unless, of course, like Tyrannical Boss, you're going to want to use Righteous Verdict. But or Execution Sentence, I suppose. And then Crusade's the best at the bottom. I was really hoping Divine Purpose would play better with Ineffable, but unfortunately it did not. But Divine Purpose is actually usable as well if you want to simulate that. But yeah, I still stick with Crusade. It's not only the most fun one currently, but it also is the highest damage. So other than that, not much has changed. Azerite traits, get Avenger's Might, Light's Decree. I've seen some people using 1 Empyrean Power as well, but Avenger's Might, Light's Decree, that's mostly because the highest shoulders you can get are off Carapace, and they happen to have Empyrean Power on them, but that's not necessarily the best option. So Light's Decree, Avenger's Might, stack Mastery, and buy all the Mastery Corruption that you can, and just go out there and have a ton of fun and do a ton of damage. Again, that's it for this, for Rep Paladins for BFA. I will probably do an update when the pre-patch hits and, we have new ways to play Paladin with whatever changes they make. And yeah, that's it for this one. Please subscribe to the channel because that helps me out a lot. And other than that, everybody have a good one.